yeah, he was a good-looking guy.
So Charles V, and this is also early on.
I'd let him colonize my plantations, if you know what I mean.
He does have a bit of that jaw, though. Someone who ran the world, you are acting like the worst battered housewife I've ever seen.
I hate France. And Steven, what is France responsible for?
Ruining everything.
They'll probably go from Poland staying winning to... Anyway, so this is how they screw it up.
I have taken things. I have taken 50 Shades of Grey, and I have blamed it on Karl Marx. I'm about to blame 50 Shades of Grey on the Aztecs.
Yeah, if I hang here for 4 or 5 years, there's like a good 20, 30, 40% chance that I'm going to die of fever. Remember, it was a Henry.
This is an embarrassing moment for me. It's a minor detail.
Which then beats off the Mexicans.
What to the Mexicans?
We're gonna build a big, beautiful wall, and the Picts are gonna pay for it.
The Picts?
The Picts.
Are we starting from Rome?
The
from
Picts
the very
have
beginning?
The Picts have been coming across the wall, raiding our lands, taking our women.
They're going to start making fun of us for how...
We're gonna build a big, beautiful wall right up there on the border.
For context, we did not talk about Rome for the 30 minutes we were discussing what we're going to talk about for this episode.
No.
We're talking geopolitics.
No, but as soon as you asked about Hadrian's Wall before we started, I was like, I gotta make a Trump wall Hadrian
You
joke.
kept talking about Hadrian. How could I not think of the wall?
I was talking about how Hadrian handled the Jews.
I know this isn't going to Patreon, but it feels like it should at this
No,
point.
no. I mean, it's just what like that's what we were talking about. Is after the second Jewish revolt, he was like, okay, well, you guys don't seem able to handle this whole empire thing, so we're gonna put you all over the place so you can't talk to each other.
Welcome to History Unhinged. If a letter falls off behind me, put the timestamp down in the comments. Also, note this new and improved window. My girlfriend did that. She is our production design manager, and she keeps killing it with that window, especially considering the original thing that we ordered kept falling down.
Yeah, that's true. No, but yeah, we're not going to talk about Rome that much. I just prime moment for Hadrian's Wall.
I'm imagining PJ is immediately going to insert a title card that says they end up talking about Rome the entire episode.
It's possible. Let's do our best.
No.
Because today we have something else to talk about. Because as those of you who watch the Lore Lodge know, I hate France. And Steven, what is France responsible for?
Ruining everything at any given point, all over the place.
Yes, France is the biggest problem in the world. It's not even hate speech. Because
we got the entire West African population that is on YouTube just immediately locked in.
They're all cheering. Haiti's cheering.
Yep.
I think probably Quebec is having an identity crisis.
It's a bit of a mix.
Which, as they should. Also, the number... Did you know that, like, there's, like, Irish spoken in Newfoundland, apparently?
I would believe it. I would believe it because...
It's English, but it's, like, an Irish version of English.
Because we're thinking of, like, for Nova Scotia and everything, for where there was a large population of fishers. Because you had a number of fishermen from Scotland and Ireland that came over specifically in order to be able to work the seasonal fishing season and harvest massive amounts of cod and other stuff.
When the first English...
halibut. It's halibut.
Yeah. When the first English explorers to get to Maine, got to Maine, they found French-speaking Indians. And they were like, what's going on?
They've been infecting the native land since.
Well, and that you got to understand, like, if you're...
That's from the Coup de Bois.
Like, the stuff that they were looking for is hilarious because you have this thing that happens when they're all scrambling for North America, where they're like, well, Samuel de Champlain was here first, and then the English are like, yeah, well, John Cabot was here first, and then this keeps going back and forth, and finally the English are like, yeah, this Welsh prince named Madoc went in 1177. What about that? And the French are like, what are you talking about?
Didn't they just keep claiming random places where Madoc?
Yeah. Everywhere that they landed, they were like, this is where Madoc landed, therefore it's English ground. Meanwhile, Wales was not part of England in 1177. Madoc was supposedly the son of the Prince of Gwynedd, which was not part of England.
Wait, hang on. Should Wales retake their righteous claim?
Well, Wales is the successor to Rome, as we know.
It's about time they rearm.
Exactly. Rearm the Welsh?
Yes.
I mean, well, hey, I could see.
I could get History Daddy on an episode and
We
just
do.
insist.
I'm not gonna. I could genuinely see that actually happening, considering what is going on in like England right now.
I was
All
gonna
right,
say,
I don't.
yeah.
I was just waffling until we got on a topic, so this works. Go ahead.
Have you not seen what is happening with it's like called Operation Raise the Colors?
Yeah. yeah.
They're raising the
keep
flag
putting
of
up their
St. George
flags, and then
everywhere.
They keep taking down the flag. And then
I'm
they keep
sorry,
putting up
but
the flag.
imagine if they tried to make it illegal to raise the American flag here.
Because the flag of England in many places is being taken down as a sign of hate speech. Like that, like unironically, I will say this, and I'll say this right. I usually try to stay as neutral as I possibly can when talking about anything for politics. I really do. This is not a left-wing or right-wing perspective when I say this. UK, you do not have free speech. Holy crap.
That's true.
It's not only just a matter of free speech, the level of mental gymnastics that are taken in order to be able to appease people that hate you is genuinely baffling to me.
England, blink twice if you've discovered oil.
For someone who ran the world, you are acting like the worst battered housewife I've ever seen.
Yeah.
One way to put it. I will say the Scots, the Welsh, and the Irish have to be sitting back just laughing their asses off.
They're probably waiting. They're probably going to like all claim full independence from England because they probably can at this point.
Well, have we talked about that time that England almost ceased to exist back in like 1400?
No.
When you say cease to exist, for which aspect are you talking about?
A united England as a singular country under one monarch almost ceased to exist around 1403.
Oh, well, yeah, because then you have during the 100 Years' War, and it's the entire destruction of the line. So, yeah.
It was that, but the Welsh. It was the Welsh.
Because
the
the
Welsh
revolt.
put together an alliance.
Wait, this is an Owen, is it?
That's Owen Glendower.
Okay.
The Welsh put together an alliance with the Earl of Hereford and the Duke of York. And they're like, all right, here's what we're going to do. We are going to beat Henry somehow. And then Wales is going to get a weird little strip that goes all the way across England and cuts the country in half. And then Wales gets all of Wales. And then I think his name was Edmund, the Earl of Hereford. They were like, okay, and you get southern England, and you, Duke of York, you get northern England. And then we're all happy. And it probably would have changed world history in ways we can't even comprehend.
I mean, the idea of just essentially removing the UK from history.
We would probably be speaking French.
See, that's the thing. I would disagree with that because a
They
lot
were
of people,
speaking English by then.
and even then, no,
Yeah, in the 1400s.
yeah, and
English was definitely making a bigger comeback.
it was making a bigger comeback, but not in the royal family
Not
yet
in the
because
royal
it was
family.
not until Henry VIII that English was the official language of the English court.
So that's
before that, it was France.
20s.
Yep.
Yeah, but isn't that the point? If England had dissolved prior to that.
No, because
Wait, was it Henry or was it
it was Henry?
was it Henry VIII or was it Henry V?
Ooh,
That's
I should know that.
I remember it was a Henry.
This is an embarrassing
Hold on.
moment for me. This is an embarrassing moment.
We'll forgive you one
yeah.
lapse.
That's
Where are the bonk sticks?
You want to know what I don't know. I think they're
That's not a
downstairs.
bonk stick.
No, that is not a bonk stick. Speaking of which, next time we shoot, we might have sponsored bonk sticks.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, which would be so great. I'm so excited for sponsored bonk sticks. But what I was going to say was that Henry VIII, regardless of whether or not that's correct, is one of the funniest figures in English history. Not just because of the whole he wanted, to get a divorce part, and that started a whole church. I mean, that's oversimplifying it to the extreme.
Yep.
And I'm an Anglican, so it's bad that I'm doing
Yep,
that.
there it is. So English became the language of the official government in the form of the Chancery Standard during the reign of Henry V.
Okay,
So
that
it was
makes
the
a little
fifth,
more
not
sense.
the eighth. I knew it was a
I
Henry.
thought it was the 1400s.
I knew it was a Henry.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, Henry V was Welsh. The Tudors.
It all comes back to the Welsh.
Yeah, it's the Tudors. Look at that. The Welsh saving England.
This whole
Wait,
point was to
wait.
talk about how Francis screwed everything up, and instead we're talking about the almost destruction of England.
We're talking about how Wales almost saved everything. It could have been so much better, guys. Could you imagine if you came to America and all the streets or all the towns were named Berwyn and Radnor and Malvern?
I was
going to
say, like here?
like where we grew up.
Yeah.
If you've ever gone to one of those places where every single street is named after something that, like, off of the local native tribe, some of them are fine, and, like, so be it. But you go out, I've seen some heading down into, like, the Louisiana, and then heading west from there, where it's just none of the vowels that are in there match up or consonants. It's almost like French. It's not French. It's part of one of the older native languages, but half the letters are not said or pronounced.
Oh, that river back there the name is spelled Schuyllkill. It is pronounced Schuylkill. Not Schuylkill, Schuylkill.
It would be fun if it
Yes.
was pronounced
It
Schuylkill.
would be. We also have Susquehanna.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, that one's
Sus.
yeah.
Exactly. Delaware, but that one's named after a British guy.
Was it? Yeah, I was gonna say Susquehanna is after the natives, isn't it not? Yeah.
Yeah, the Susquehannock.
Yeah.
The tribe.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a lot of tribes here.
Also, love the little bit of history around here that you informed me of, is that we are one of the few places in this country,
Where we actually bought the land.
yes, that we did not steal the land from the natives. We actually bought it.
Yeah, Penn had a charter and he came here and he was like, I would like to pay you for this. And they were like, you would? Granted, they did not really have the same concept of land ownership that we do,
Yeah.
but he was still like, yeah, I'd like to give you some things. And then 200 years later, you've got like Lewis and Clark, not even a 200, like 150 years later, Lewis and Clark are out there and they're like, hey, we'd like to buy your alliance with these beautiful blue beads. And apparently the natives went crazy for it.
Oh no, for glass and other kinds of things, it was a huge deal. Like there were entire cottage industries that developed along the eastern coast of the United States that were, and also in Europe, it became like a big cottage industry that were just native trade goods. And it would be simple things. It would be different stuff for pots and pans.
Mirrors.
It would be beads, mirrors, knives, things that were cheap but able to be produced really easily that you could buy up in bulk and then you would take them with you on a trading expedition. Why does our trading expedition, why is 30% of our luggage consist of beads and pots and pans? Oh, because we're going to give those away.
Yep.
Like literally, that is what it was. And it worked, and it was very effective.
Also, for the audience, I want you to do me a favor. In the comments below, and you can edit with your reaction to this afterward, I want you to give a percentage of what you think the Lewis and Clark expedition was overland. How much of their time did they spend walking across the United States?
Not time, mileage.
Mileage.
Yeah, mileage is the important one here.
Put your percentage guess down, and then I'm going to have Mattis tell the answer.
I won't know the exact percentage off the top of
Just
my
like
head. but-
rough estimate.
Well,
yeah,
well, dude, just give it like a couple minutes.
Give it a
You can
couple
even
minutes,
verify the
exactly, yeah.
exact amount from
Yeah,
here if you
wanna
wanted
pull up
to.
the exact amount. I remember off the top of my head vaguely what it was, but it's they really gave us the impression that a lot more of it was overland in school.
No, but that's just it. Even if they say that for the journey, the overwhelming majority of travel specifically happened by boat and the river system. So what you would do is you would have the canoes, you would even drag the stuff over carts or other things to get to the next waterway, and then you would take that waterway across. Because if you look at things geographically, the United States has a massive advantage over most countries on the earth, specifically because of its geographical features and the interconnectedness of rivers. Most countries do not have rivers the way that the United States does. The main artery going down through the center in the case of the Mississippi River, a lot of countries have a major river. What they don't have is hundreds of little tributaries spreading out from that seem to connect the entire country together in one.
I had no idea how far west the Missouri River went. It goes into Montana. The Missouri River goes into Montana, guys. From the Mississippi.
That's one of the it's when they called it the superhighway
Yeah.
of the Old West, they weren't kidding because it really was.
Wait, I can bring it back around to the point of the video here.
Okay.
If you're Native American, the French really did ruin everything.
We gotta
Because they had-
talk about York before we get to the French, though.
No. We're going to talk about Lewis and Clark at length tomorrow.
Okay.
That's my plan for tomorrow.
Okay.
Today is France. Tomorrow is Lewis and Clark.
Okay. You ready?
In a weird way, Jefferson could have said that.
That's fair. Also, do we want the percentage
Yeah, what is it?
for land? Okay, so the percentage that Lewis and Clark actually traveled by walking over land.
By the way, I am so glad we finally changed out the chairs because the wooden ones were hurting my booty.
Yeah, my tailbone was not doing well.
Not a good time.
Gabby literally made a joke. She thought that I was going to break mine.
What, your
No,
tailbone?
not my tailbone, the literal chair, because there was
Oh,
no
okay.
support in it whatsoever.
They were not particularly sturdy chairs.
No.
Admittedly.
Where did we get them from?
They came with I don't even remember. I bought them on Facebook Marketplace.
It's a dining set.
That'll do
Yeah,
it.
it was from a dining set. I don't think there was a table involved though. I think I just bought the chairs because we needed some chairs.
Is table separate?
This table my parents have had since I was a small child, and now we have it. So
Nice.
this has been in the Lore Lodge for a while. Anyway, we finally got these guys, which aren't even technically what I'm supposed to be doing an ad read for right now. Surprise! We got ads on the channel now.
We do.
Okay.
We do have B-roll of that
We
chair.
do
though,
have B-roll
'cause
of that
it's downstairs
chair.
because
if
we
you want
have
to see Steven having a good time on the chair, I'm sure it's probably playing by this point.
we have so many Flexispot chairs because we enjoy them so much that we have been able to outfit different levels of the studio with different forms of Flexispot chairs.
There is at least one Flexispot chair on every single floor of our studio right now, and there's one in my apartment back home.
And many of them are different types of Flexispot
Yes,
chairs.
these are the C7, I think just the C7 meshes, right?
Yes,
Yours is a C7 with foam.
correct.
And these guys have like these ones have you probably can't see it. I don't know, maybe you can, but there's a footrest.
There is.
But the C7 Max, it doesn't just have the footrest, it has those swivelly arms. It has I mean, you were the one who
It's
was
got the
sitting in
footrest that
those.
sticks out and you can use as a jousting tool, which
Yes.
I do not recommend to use that on dogs. I'm
Yes,
just saying
Archie
that right
was
now.
deeply upset about that.
It's also definitely the most comfortable of the seats because the foam is
Yeah.
really thick.
Yeah, the foam is great on that one.
Yeah,
And
not that
that's not to
these-
say that these ones aren't comfortable. Like the mesh ones are. I was not totally partial to the mesh ones at first, and as I've gotten more used to them, I like the chair.
Yeah,
It's very comfy for long-term sitting.
these ones are really solid. I enjoy being able to sit in these while we do our recording sessions, both here and for Lore Lodge.
Yeah.
But yeah, the C7 Max is really comfy.
Because again, for those of you who are curious, we do this not for like, oh yeah, hey, we did this for 2 hours in 1 week, and then we came back here and met up the next week. No, we can't do that because we live in completely separate states.
Yeah,
so,
he's in Kentucky. We're in Pennsylvania.
so we come out here and we film for like 12 hours.
Yeah. So we're sitting in these chairs for like 8 to 10 hours a day
For
when
like
we're
multiple
filming.
days in a row.
Yeah, and I mean, our filming sessions take anywhere from 2 hours to 4 hours for just regular Lore Lodge stuff.
But we also use them for the podcast as
Yeah,
well.
podcast. We use these chairs all the time. Like, and the thing is, I would still use them even if we didn't get them for free.
Yeah.
Oh, God, absolutely.
They're awesome. But yeah, everything about these things, from the fact that, I mean, the seat, it has adjustable height, obviously, but then what really works for me is the
Lumbar support.
Oh my God, these things are nice. They're so nice.
Extremely.
Yeah. And the headrest, this thing is adjustable. It goes up and down. On yours, I think it goes up and down in a different way.
It does.
I gotta say, I've never felt more secure in being 30 years old in my life.
Yeah, they're really cozy. But speaking of cozy, there's the other one that we have downstairs that you guys are taking one home. They gave us two, and we decided to, split the difference.
And what kind of chair is it?
Unfortunately, mine doesn't come included with a Mattis.
Yeah, that is unfortunate. But they do recline because they're recliners, and they are very big recliners. Like,
They are.
I will say, obviously most recliners are pretty big and plushy, but these ones, the way that they're laid out, you can kind of lay comfortably across it. You can sit cross-legged. You can lean back. And it's really easy to, they're like, how sometimes like old recliners, it was like, you're really yanking on that thing to get it to come out. This was just, you pull a little latch and it shoots out.
And they are light. I have a heavy-duty recliner at home that's one of those solid leather ones that's like solid metal on the inside as well. Try to lift that thing up. You need a team of two to get it. This one, I could put that over my head myself.
And I was able to hold Archie and give him a belly rub, and then I was also able to have Steven sit on my lap, and I gave him a belly rub. Who's a good boy?
Not me. I've been bad.
Like, it was, everybody was having a good time.
It's a prime chair for belly rubs.
Prime belly
It is
rub
prime
chair.
for belly rubs.
Yeah.
The allegations will never be escaped.
No, not
we
even
will never
close.
escape them. Yeah, I mean, I just looked up the actual stats on the chair. The seat itself is a little under 21 inches wide, and then each armrest is over 9 inches wide. So you've got like 40 inches of width here.
Yeah. And it's not like the armrests are like really like vertical.
No,
they're kind of nice.
They kind of spread out. Yeah,
can really
it's
lounge
very,
around.
Very cozy. It's nice, and I mean, it rocks back and forth, and it's cozy. I could fall asleep in that
You
thing.
can spin around as much as you want.
I do love spins.
Archie is going to be stuck on that thing for many days, I'm sure. He's just going to remain.
He'll like blend into it.
He will blend into it. It's very pretty, a very pretty off-white.
Have we sold you? Has it worked? Are you going to buy? You should. Use this code.
Look at what we're sitting in.
Also, I mean, obviously, we get these things for free because we're advertising them, but one of the great things about Flexispot is you do get a 30-day risk-free trial period, basically. If you don't like the chair, you can send it back. I honestly don't know why you would, because I have never had a problem with one of these chairs. Obviously, we have so many of them. And on top of that, there is a 10-year warranty. So if your chair breaks or anything, that's 10 years. And, I mean... I can't. I not having to replace a chair for 10 years is wild to me.
Yeah, I will say I the last chair I had at home, which was not a Flexispot,
It's horrible.
it was atrocious, and I think my tailbone issues are mainly coming from that. But I only just replaced it after 10 years when I arguably should have already replaced it probably 4 years ago.
Oh yeah.
So
I'll be honest, I would have assumed tailbone issues for a complete other reason, considering what we've seen here before.
Anyway, if you'd like to purchase one for yourself, you can get it at the link in the description. And if it's a little too rich for your blood, one of the C7s or the C7 Maxes, there is also the C5, which is a lower price option, just as comfy in my opinion. And they've also, I'm reading here now, breaking news, they have launched a new chair model, the C7 Morpher, which I am told features a complete upgrade to the lumbar support and upper backrest. So you can go ahead and check that one out, the C7 Morpher, over on Flexispot's website. And I gotta say, I'm surprised at more lumbar support.
This thing is already insanely
great.
supportive.
Yeah. Anyway, this has been going on a lot longer than 120 seconds, and I think we're in the wrong video.
What?
Yeah. This is we're in the wrong video right now. We should probably get back to it though.
yeah, I think you're right.
Okay. Anyway, what were we talking about?
We'll find out. Was 15%. 85% of the journey was by water.
And it's basically just them crossing the Rockies.
of the Mississippi. I'm telling you, this is the super highway. It really was. You could just follow the tributaries out.
Yeah, but no, I mean, if you're like a Western Plains Native American in 1800, everything's pretty chill. If you're the Nez Perce, you probably haven't even met a white dude. But if you are like, the Arikara or the Sioux or any of those guys, you've got these weird pale guys that show up, marry 4 or 5 of your women and then stick around, but they give you like beads and knives. So I guess that's pretty chill. And then France, a couple of years later is like, what if we sold Louisiana? And then Thomas Jefferson's like, what's Louisiana? And Napoleon's like, if I know. Literally, he's like, wherever the Missouri goes is Louisiana. It's like, whatever the light touches is yours. Like, wherever the Missouri goes is yours. And Jefferson's like, okay, well, we got to send some dudes. We'll get there later. But no, so the French, meanwhile, are in this weird situation where they were in the middle of trying to retake Haiti. And then they also were going to reinforce New Orleans. And Jefferson's like, well, we can't let that happen because then we've got France on our border. Even though Jefferson actually liked France.
Yeah.
Jefferson was a big Francophile, which really is one of the main problems with Jefferson. Like, mostly a great dude. He did everything else right.
Well, we also need to remember.
Do we want to talk about Sally?
It's a minor detail. France was the real problem here.
We also need to remember the chaos of the era, that the Louisiana Purchase wasn't just a thing that ended up happening because, with France.
He also didn't mean to do it.
The Louisiana territory was owned, it was because it was Spain, and then Spain ceded it to France after France, because you have the rise of Napoleon and everything here and everything else that
France
happens.
was like, hey, Spain, you want a new king? And Spain was like, not really. And Napoleon was like, here's my brother.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
That is unironically how that worked out, because France at that point was supposed to basically be the intermediary power that was going to decide who it was going to be. And Napoleon did actually go to the situation and go, so these are the candidates? Yeah, no, how about my brother?
And everybody was like, we can't beat Napoleon.
Nope. So the Spanish then proceeded to launch a, what was it? It's like a decade-long war of guerrilla warfare against the French.
The War of the Spanish. That's not Spanish.
No, that's the war. That's the Peninsular War.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say because it's important to recognize that there is another war that is the War of the Spanish Succession. That's not this one.
No, that was older. That was the one that
was like
France
the
actually went in to
1750s,
try to place their claim.
We also need to talk about the Spanish Civil War at some point. because it's the one that like I feel like everybody
so
forgets
little about that.
That's the thing. Everybody forgets about it, but it was basically a proxy war before World War II.
Crazy how there were like no good sides.
Yeah.
No, it really wasn't. It really wasn't. And it's like, it's one of those things, I've actually addressed this in a lot. So I do a lot of Hearts of Iron 4 for alternate history with telling stories. And I have to explain for you change things in the Spanish Civil War, how many effects that is going to have. Because the Spanish Civil War is one of the key things that led to increased industrialization within the Soviet Union, because the Soviet Union stole all the gold reserves from the Spanish government. That's funny. So they did that because it was supposed to be held in trust, and then the Soviets would sell the Republican side weapons and other things in like much higher inflated prices, and they go, oh, we can't pay for this. Yeah, you can. The gold that we're storing here for you for safekeeping, don't worry, we'll just take it from that. Yep. And then they stole basically all the gold this way. Like, it was done in transactions, but it's kind of like
would it be wrong to say that Russian industrialization was built upon stolen Spanish gold?
Kind of.
Are you telling me the Aztecs funded the communist revolution?
Not by that point, because Spain had been a long declining state and was way gone.
Okay.
Like, all their gold was gone. In fact,
the Aztecs were destroyed in the name of communism.
Listen, I have taken things. I have taken 50 Shades of Grey, and I have blamed it on Karl Marx. I'm about to blame 50 Shades of Grey on the Aztecs.
It's not their fault.
yeah.
Well, they could have fought harder.
Well, no, also, you say gold.
Well, actually, they could have just not abused all of their neighbors for 200 years.
Oh, yeah, no, this is completely true. But you say gold. Gold wasn't the driving metal. It was silver.
The Aztecs?
No, for everything out of Central and South America.
Really?
So, yeah, it was silver. So everyone talks about gold because gold is what they were searching for initially. But here's the thing. Silver was the way more valuable tool for monetary exchange. And guess what had the largest deposits of silver in the entire world? And when I say this, I mean, I kid you not, at one point, 80-something% of the entire world's silver came out of Mexico and South America.
I was going to
Close.
guess
Yeah, it was Bolivia.
Wow.
So I think it's Potosi in Bolivia was responsible alone for like half of all the world's silver.
I think I've heard of the Potosi silver mine, and I think it's because of Empire Total War.
Yep.
Perhaps. There is a silver mine in the Potosi region in Empire. I hate that.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, you and I need to get in touch with Creative Assembly because I have an idea.
Ooh. But they did this, and the reason why silver was so important was because initially they wanted gold. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, what was the big trade partner that everyone really wanted to trade with? China. Mm-hmm. China didn't give a shit about gold. They wanted silver, because their entire currency and trade system was based off of silver.
And then they really wanted beaver pelts.
Eventually.
Yeah.
But the big thing was the only good that they were willing to trade for before drugs was silver. And so that is exactly what would happen. Almost all of the silver that was mined out of the New World would go to Spain. They would mint it into coins, and then they would send that shit back to China, and then it would go back to the New World, and then back to Spain again. And that's how they did it. So it wasn't like huge amounts of gold reserves that they got from the natives. Like, they got that in the beginning, but all that gold was spent very quickly by the time that the wars with Charles V came about. Because Charles V was the Habsburg, he was the really
messed up one, right?
No, opposite. No. He was
Charles II, the really messed up one?
Charles II, but it's part of a different line. Oh. So the thing that people get confused upon is you have the Austrian Habsburg line and you have the Spanish Habsburg line. So look up Charles V right now, and you'll see, because he does not he probably
he doesn't look like that.
Yeah,
isn't he also technically the Charles I of Spain?
Because remember, Charles II, when that
happens, that's why I was confused. It was his successor.
Charles II is 200 years later.
Got it.
Almost. That's is the thing that kicks off the Spanish War of Succession.
Got it.
In the 1720s, I think is or 30s. So what happens, right?
Oh yeah, he was a good-looking guy.
So Charles V, and this is also early on.
I'd let him colonize my plantations, if you know what I mean.
He does have a bit of that jaw, though.
Yeah, the Habsburg jaw was a long time coming.
He controlled Spain. He controlled the Netherlands. He controlled like half of Germany. He controlled Austria.
Belgium
all
too,
of
right?
Hungary. Yeah, like the entirety of the Netherlands for what you would have here, not just the Dutch territory.
Empires by that point were so messed up.
If you look up the map of Charles V and the empire that he controlled, it was massive. And when I say that he controlled Hungary, he legally controlled Hungary, but like 80% of Hungary was controlled by the Ottoman Empire. So this is right at the time, 1520s. This is as the Protestant Reformation is breaking out, right? And he is trying to lead a holy war against the Ottomans. Where's all of his money coming from? The silver mines. And all the gold, all the silver, everything that he had here, that was funding Spanish armies to be able to fight the Ottomans. So all these natives being used as slave labor down in South America were so that some Dutch guy could fight the Ottomans in Hungary.
So what you're saying is that the communist revolution is because of the Ottomans.
There, we can link it. We can always link it.
We can link it. We can make it happen.
This whole episode is supposed to be about France, and now we're talking.
This is the most classic history.
I'm gonna find a way to blame France for all of this.
We are talking about the whole thing for Colonial. We talked about the whole thing with the Louisiana Purchase. And this is the funny thing, that France was willing to give up the entirety of Louisiana. They were not willing to give up Haiti. That's the fucking funny part.
That's the thing,
Louisiana was... The entire Louisiana territory was 100 times the size of Haiti. Like, so much bigger. But they were willing to give that up, but not give up Haiti.
Is it just because sugar was that important?
Well, it's because they could immediately extract the resources from Haiti and should have been able to control it militarily. They could not do either of those things with Louisiana.
Plus, they didn't want to potentially run the risk that America would end up siding with Britain in order to seize the territory. So they
Jefferson
were much
threatened them to do that.
They were much happier to just sell it.
Yeah, and also Jefferson could not do anything about Americans just going over the Mississippi and deciding to settle over there. Like, people were just doing it.
Yep.
Because it was a different time.
So when we talk about France ruining things, this is the reason why I wanted to bring this up here in the first place when talking about all it, is we talked about Napoleon and his behavior for like, oh, hey, I'm supposed to be the guy that creates peace and establishes who's supposed to be in charge of a country. Yeah, I'm just going to choose my brother. This is the whole thing over the period of the French Revolution when people talk about how, oh, no, the French Revolution, they were going to do all these things to give like rights to people. And it's like, on paper, yeah, there was a lot of things that were done to give rights to people. On the other hand, there were so many different things that were done in here to screw over or limit said rights, such as similar to what ended up happening with the American Revolution of like, all men are created equal, but not slaves. France did a very similar thing where there was a huge movement within the revolution that wanted to liberate all the slaves. And then the other part, the one that kind of understood that they needed money in order to be able to fight wars and carry on the revolution, was like, but. What if we kind of maybe looked at doing that later and we focus on things at home now? So there was this period over the course of Haiti where they were given limited rights. And then this was part of the original thing for the revolution. The French people in Haiti, not the French Haitians, the actual French people that were the colonial overlords and the plantation owners, they saw this with the limited rights that were being given to the slaves, and they were like, no, we don't want this. They're going to revolt against us. We want our independence. So the owners of the plantations fight to try to get independence, essentially, in order to be able to take control of affairs themselves. And France doesn't want this, obviously. They want to keep everything the way that it is. So all those limited rights that the slaves were given were taken away again. How do the slaves react?
Not well.
Not well. And then what follows is some of the bloodiest, horrible fighting you could, like the Haitian, not like war for independence or civil war or however you want to describe it, was one of the most brutal. And when I say tribal, I'm not talking about this in terms of, say, like African tribes or anything like that. I mean in the sense of it was either you were a colonizer or you were a slave. And you were going to be one or the other. And you were either a traitor to one, and that meant that you were punished, like you were going to be punished. And it was incredibly brutal. Yeah. The only people in the end of the revolution that were actually spared that were white were the Polish.
The one time they get a pass?
The Polish got a pass. And do you know why?
They got V-pass.
And this is one of those hilarious parts in here in the first place. So Napoleon is waging... this is how you connect all this together for how the Poles fought in Haiti to free the Haitians. Yeah.
Poland's just been on the right side every time.
Yeah, they can't miss.
I know.
We got the Winged Hussars, we got the Resistance, we got the Haitian Revolution.
I know. So I'm going to tell the story that's going to kind of set this up here so that you'll understand what I'm talking about here, because it's about how Poland collapses. But how Poland collapses is what helps to directly lead to the rise of Haiti.
Love how we go from Poland staying winning to... Anyway, so this is how they screw it up.
There was a period of time where automobiles existed and Poland didn't.
Yep. So here's the point. Poland as an entity saw about 122 or 123 years where it did not exist. And the whole reason for that is because if you look at Poland from the 1400s and 1500s going all the way to the 1700s, it was one of the largest states in all of Europe. It was bigger than France, it was bigger than England, it was bigger than Austria, it was bigger than all of it. And it was
only was dwarfed by Russia.
Yes, literally Russia was the only one that was bigger. And it was the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, which was, it had Poles, it had Ukrainians, it has Lithuanians, it has like some Prussians, it has all these different groups, all these different religions, all these different everythings as part of this big, massive country. But the thing about this country is that if you wanted to compare it to anything, imagine it like how broken the United States was with the Articles of Confederation, but worse. And when I say worse, you know how the U.S. couldn't tax anyone or do any kind of shit because of the Articles? This was worse because the Polish had a constitutional monarchy that they had centuries before everyone else, basically. I mean, you basically had the UK with the Magna Carta, etc.
Yeah.
But that doesn't apply for the actual limits because the king still had a lot more authority in England in the 1500s than Poland did in the 1500s. Way more authority. The Polish had a kind of parliamentary system called the Sejm. And what the Sejm is that you had all these Polish nobles that had the power to veto whatever the fuck the king tried to do. And when I say they had the power,
So he was even less powerful than the Holy Roman Emperor.
it's worse.
That's insane.
You know how in the whole thing that ends up happening within the Holy Roman Empire, it's determined largely by, oh, well, if a majority of people within this council, like if you have a council of 7 and 4 vote for it and 3 are against, it passes?
Yeah.
If one Polish noble, one within the Sejm, said no, everything was canceled.
Wait, and how many
It
of
was
them
called
were
the
there?
Liberum Veto. It was the golden rule, the golden veto, that any Polish noble could say, like, I do not consent. And the entire
Jesus meme?
and the entire legislative session of that period was stopped, and everything that was passed during that session was unpassed.
How many nobles were there?
So it varied depending upon the time, but there could be like dozens in there, or even hundreds.
So basically, you are almost guaranteed to not get anything through.
Kind of. And you know how nobles are a little bit greedy?
Yes.
Right? That happens. That happens. People are greedy. So this was a pretty cool thing during a time of peace because it meant that people couldn't be abused on the local level. But during a time of potential conflict, one possible bad actor or enemy power that goes, hey, if you vote no on this bill that they want to pass to increase taxes to raise an army, I'll give you like 10% of your income that you make in a year up front.
Oh.
Sold. So what would you rather go up against? Would you rather go up against an army that cost several $100 million to make, and you have to make your own army that costs several $100 million? Or would you rather pay one noble like $50,000 and then they don't have an army to actually fight you with?
Obvious answer.
Yeah. So that happened a lot. In fact, there was even one, I think I looked at the statistics on this when I did the podcast episode, that out of all the sessions that they had in like 100-something year period, over half of them were shut down.
Amazing.
And so what ends up happening is that Poland begins to decay further and further and further. And in the 1700s, it starts to get chipped away by all the varying powers. Prussia, Austria, and Russia surrounded on all sides. It is horribly weak. It's basically not exactly a puppet of Russia at this point, but large swaths of it basically are. And over a period of 20 years, Prussia, Austria, and Russia come together and agree, hey, so we don't want anyone to get really jealous about potential land claims that you all are making from gains down in the Ottoman Empire, because Austria and Russia, like Austria was threatening to go to war with Russia because Russia was beating the Ottomans' ass, and they were going to take huge swaths of territory down in the Balkans, and Austria didn't want to do this because that's what they thought is their own rightful sphere of influence, so they threatened to go to war with Russia. Prussia comes out and says, whoa, guys, don't fight. Listen. You could fight over the Ottoman territory, or we could all just agree to nom nom Poland. And they do. In 20 years, over 3 separate divisions, the 3 empires just consume all of Poland, Lithuania, which, mind you, again, was the second largest country in Europe.
That's insane.
Like,
What is this?
you're gonna.
Oh, I
have to
made a
put this
meme. I'm
up
gonna have to give it to PJ.
You're gonna have to put that up. Yep.
Yep.
So,
Incredible.
so the third partition of Poland takes place. All of Poland is consumed, and the Poles basically have no state. They try to rise up in multiple times and revolt. It does not work out. The closest that they ever come to is the early 1800s. Do you want to guess why?
I'd love to know why.
Napoleon.
France
starts coming through, begins to remake everything, as they naturally do. The whole reason why we have a lot of the modern nation states that you would see develop specifically come out of the divisions of the map that Napoleon drew. And the Polish sign up in droves to join Napoleon, because when he goes marching in against all like the Austrians and everyone else, they try to pressure Napoleon to agree to create a Polish vassal state. It would be a vassal state, but at least it would be a new Polish state.
At least it's Poland.
Exactly. So they try to do this. And they get kind of limited ability with the Duchy of Warsaw that ends up getting created, though the Duchy of Warsaw ends up getting consumed again by Russia when Napoleon is on his retreat back from, the failed Russia campaign. So that gets consumed again. The Poles are still fighting in Napoleon's army for years, and they are some of the elites serving within his forces, and they are used everywhere in order to try and hopefully earn enough political favor to be able to get a new Poland again.
Right.
One of the deployments that one of the Polish contingents was sent on was when the revolt broke out in Haiti. The Polish were sent down as part of this contingent in order to put down the rebellion. They show up and were like, wait, so we're fighting against a people that are trying to fight for their freedom and escape from slavery? Oh no, this. And they immediately switch sides and join the Haitians.
That's so good. That needs to be a movie.
Yeah, so they do this. They fight with the Haitians the entire way against the French. And then when the war is finally over and the new leader of Haiti is taking over at that point, all of the French citizens that were still on the island, the ones that hadn't fled, it didn't matter if they were women or children or anything, they were getting mass executed. And when I say executed, I mean hung, I mean disemboweled and tortured, I mean the Haitians were brutal to the French. And when I say that, and I know that we're all going to see this in the comments, we're going to say, what about what the French did to the Haitians? Yeah, they did. Oh my God, the French were awful.
Yeah.
Holy crap. This is where I need to explain for why France wanted to give up Louisiana, but they refused to give up Haiti. In the 1700s, do you know what percentage of exports from France specifically just went from Haiti?
I'm going to imagine at least like 70.
So it was 66% of all fruit in France came from Haiti, and 33% of all exports in total. That's every single export you could imagine went just to Haiti. That's how intrinsic it was and valuable. And then in terms of sugar...
So France had an even worse situation with Haiti than Britain had with us.
Yep. Of the population it had of 500,000, 80% of the people on the island were slaves. And because of that incredibly lopsided percentage, the owners of the slave plantations were brutal. They didn't practice punishment. They practiced preemptive punishment. So if there was even a rumor of a possible revolt or something or disobedience that could be taking place, slaves were executed and tortured.
Oh, so they saw what we were doing and they were like, nah, this is not enough.
Yeah, that's a great way to inevitabilize a revolt.
I think what it was that over a course of a period for when slaves were being imported to the island, 800,000 slaves were brought to Haiti alone. And of those, the average lifespan was 2 or 3 years.
Whoa.
So now when you understand, when I say, oh, hey, the Haitians were torturing and murdering the French that remained on the island, yes, it was awful. But there's a reason why that hatred existed.
Yeah.
The really bad part, though, and this is where I say where it's not justified for this part, for what they did, is that they didn't just do that to the French colonial overlords. They did that to the French people that sided with the Haitians. Like yes. So there was a whole scene where the soldiers and townspeople that sided with the French Haitian, like with the African Haitians against the French colonial overlords, they all got butchered because they were still French.
See, that's the thing, is at that point you lose me.
See, that's the point.
no.
That's where you lose me.
Like, I don't necessarily approve of it, but I can absolutely understand the mentality of everyone around you dies of 2 years to 3 years of arrival. You're at that point, you'd think, let's be fair, like, in their mindset, you and your brothers have created a machine to murder me, my family, and everyone I know. I can't trust a single one of you. Again, don't approve, but I totally see where their mindset comes from.
I can see where it comes from, but I would think there would be a little bit of higher reasoning involved from the command structure. Like I could see like a mob of angry revolutionaries doing that. You would expect the command structure to step in and be like, hey.
That's because the command structure ended up breaking down by that point. So the guy who led the initial Haitian Revolution, Toussaint Louverture, he was way more diplomatic about things. His successor, who took over after him, was a hardline radical.
Yeah.
And that's the thing.
That kept happening.
Yes.
Which is what
That happened in France, too.
I'm imagining, again, not approving, but I'm imagining the empathy involved here. This is very much an equivalent, not to that scale, but not too far off, of essentially a revolt happening at like Birkenau. Like that's basically the equivalency here in terms of the longevity of their lifespan when they entered this place. So like,
well, the French people who sided with the Haitians were not plantation owners, right?
Typically, no. There was a whole middle class that existed on the island that served other roles, like the artisans, etc.
Yeah.
Like
again, not excusing it, but I can see why it happened.
Was imported. You had a local population that was like the poor to middle class-ish whites.
Yeah, so that's the thing, is like, to compare it to Birkenau, you'd have to have like a group of German people who just lived there making textiles and weren't involved.
Yeah, it'd be like the people who lived in the area around Birkenau.
Yep. So
those guys were Polish. That's an even worse comparison.
No, fair. Like, but I'm saying, again, doesn't approve it, but I can see why it happened.
So the Polish were like one of the few groups that this obviously did not happen to. They were celebrated. The Polish were very obvious. Like they had their own kind of units distinction. They spoke Polish and everything in here, and that was not a very commonly spoken language.
Fair. I guess, the Haitian slaves would know the difference between French and not French.
Yeah, they could see that here. And the big thing is that not only were they spared, the Polish were given honorary. They were made honorary Haitians. They were given full citizenship. No. They were the only white people that were given that.
I gotta be honest though, if I was a Polish person, like a Polish soldier who came over there and saw all of that happen, I would be like, thanks, I'm leaving.
Don't want to risk like stepping on someone's toe and then getting decapitated.
I've heard great things about America. It's right there. I'll be just cross the water right to me.
Yep.
I want to visit.
So the revolt is
successful. And then of course they come to America and they would be treated horribly.
Yeah.
So the revolt is successful in the end. Haiti gets its independence, but they get their independence in the sense that they, on paper, have their independence because the French are driven off. The French are going to come back, and they want their colony back. The whole reason being is that over half of all the world's sugar, so this is, mind you, this is counting Cuba. This is counting all the places throughout, like Mexico, heading into Latin America, Brazil, etc. Half of all the world's sugar comes from Haiti. It was, with no exaggeration when I say this, the most valuable agricultural colony on the planet.
Jeez.
It was ludicrously wealthy. Ludicrously. Not the slaves, but the people who owned it were wealthy. In fact, one of the things that you do in France at the time is that, should specify this. I said that the average lifespan was like a couple of years in Haiti for a slave. This wasn't just because of the brutal conditions. It was because things like yellow fever and other stuff were rampant. Yeah. So disease was horrible. That affects everyone, not just the slaves. So Haiti was a gamble for the French. If you were a French minor lord or moderate merchant or whatever, you could go down to Haiti, and in the span of like 4 or 5 years, you could quadruple your fortune. It was ridiculous. It was amazing. But that came at the risk of, if I hang here for 4 or 5 years, there's like a good 20, 30, 40% chance that I'm going to die of fever. Like, it was literally gambling. with sugar and disease. That's what it was. So
The more I learn about France, the less I approve. And I already didn't approve.
Yeah, you were already in the
My
negative.
opinion of France was already abysmal.
yep.
It is worse.
So this is where a huge percentage of the money that is funding a lot of things that France is doing is coming from, and they don't want to simply let it go. So they deliver an ultimatum to Haiti that says, all right, hey, you guys can get your independence. We'll let you go. But to compensate us for the loss of all of the plantations and everything else that we were going to do, you're going to pay us reparations. So the colonial overlord gets reparations from Haiti that is a massive percentage of their GDP. I think, I can't remember the exact number in here. I'm probably going to look it up in a second. But I think it was at one point half of the budget of what the government would have to run the country went to France for reparations. This was so bad that said reparations were not paid back until going into the 1900s.
That's crazy.
It was that bad. And what ended up happening then is, as you can imagine, in order for a government to function, you need to have people that support the government, that participate. The government needs to have people to tax. It needs to have some kind of wealth. Otherwise, it literally can't exist. So what do? Well, they can't build up any infrastructure because they don't have any money. They can't put anything into education because they don't have any money. They can't really do anything because they don't have any money, and they're constantly afraid of getting attacked by France or some other power again.
Well, didn't France attack them?
This is after the fact.
Yeah.
So they
that's
didn't
what I was
again.
gonna say is after France kind of tried and they didn't super succeed.
Exactly. So this is where they agreed that they would leave them alone in exchange for reparations. So they go, okay, we're going to take all the remaining money that we have, and we're going to put that into the defense budget. So instead of anything going to boosting up education or infrastructure or starting up local industry or anything like that, they pour it into the military, which is then used to oppress the rest of the people because they discover, oh crap, all these things that we ran for the ideas on the revolution, like liberty and freedom and giving people their own land, it doesn't actually make us any money. So the government of Haiti, of former slaves, looks at the rest of the population and goes, hey guys, I know we just gave you all this little farmland that you were going to use to farm stuff yourself, but we're going to force you back onto the plantation so that you're basically slaves, so that you can make sugar, so that we can sell that, so that we can make money, so that we can buy weapons to fund our army. And they do this.
And keep in mind, this is how long after the revolution?
Immediately. Like within the span of 5 years.
The French are really bad at revolutions. Like across the board.
Yep.
Even the ones that
Wait,
they
Steven,
lose.
when did the French Revolution start again?
That was in,
First one.
so it's 1798.
Okay, and when did Napoleon come to power?
So he was that's the thing. I forget exactly when he was crowned, but he rose to power very quickly with it. Wait, did I say 1798? No, it was 1789. It was 1789.
I think it was a little earlier than
Yeah,
that.
I think it was 1789 that the French Revolution breaks out, and then Napoleon begins to really rise in power going into the mid-1790s.
Exactly.
And that's where he becomes like a consul, and he gets all this authority. And then he crowns himself, was it 1800, I think, when he actually does this?
I love how the French were like, all right, we've finally attained freedom from oppressive government. We should model our new government on an oppressive government.
Oh, yeah, I forgot to say this. Remember how we talked about the horrible, brutal Civil War? I want you to give a guess as to what percentage of the population died over the course of this. Remember, they had 500,000 people on the island.
I'm going to go with 20%.
Okay?
I'll say 30.
It is estimated that 60% of the population died in between 1790 and 1796. In 6 years, 60% of the population died.
That's 300,000 people. That's a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah. It was... This is why when I say
At a
how much of a
certain
shit
point-
show it is.
At a certain point, they might have made it worse.
Yep. I was wrong. See, I did a geopolitics video on Haiti like a year and a half ago here for explaining why it's a failed state now, and going and looking at the history. So, okay, I'm just going to read from the little section here that I have when talking about this. The indemnity amount that they were supposed to pay was 150 million francs, payable over 5 years, which the French government calculated as a decade of Haitian revenue. So, mind you, the indemnity that they were forced to pay was what the French government looked afterwards and went, yeah, they can probably pay this, not having any idea of what it would actually be. They just basically threw out a number. And it's really hard to describe then to how badly this crippled the state, because this weighed the nation down severely as it tried to grow. They were unable to make the first 30 million franc payment, as you can imagine. So the Haitian government instead had to go into further debt in order to pay it. They borrowed funds from French banks at 25% interest rate in order to be able to pay the debt that they owed the government of France.
25%.
25% or higher. There were many that were higher in order to make the payments. This borrowing began Haiti's long cycle of indebtedness to foreign nations, which resulted in significant foreign involvement in Haiti's financial affairs because they owed everyone money as a broken state. The loans exacerbated Haiti's pre-existing fiscal strain. In previous years, more than half the budget went to the military, courtesy of the authoritarian measures that were put in place to force people back onto the plantations.
Did they not consider the option of sending an envoy to the English and offering to become an English colony in exchange
Yeah, they didn't
for
want.
England?
They would no colony. Like the moral mental idea, they refused to become a colony. They were not going to do that.
Even if it would have saved them?
But I was wrong. It was
One
worse.
tyrant for another. It doesn't.
Yeah, but by that point, England was well on its way to abolishing slavery completely.
Yeah, but how well known was that across?
Well, the Haitian Revolution was what year?
So this broke out in 1791
Yeah, they were less than 20
or
years off.
1790. Yeah,
Still,
England abolished slavery in 1807.
but like how well
it was
known was that?
1790 to
Across the world?
1796 is when 60% of the population died. So yeah, 1790. in here.
England was pretty actively working to eliminate slavery.
Yeah.
Like if you were involved in the politics of the time, you would have known. England's abolitionist movement was very early.
Following the indemnity debt payments, these comprised as much as 80% of the entire Haitian budget. Not half. I was wrong with that. No, it's 80% of the entire budget was just payments to France.
That's insane. Also, I'm realizing, wait, part of the reason they probably didn't know that is because if France was making so much money from Haiti, they probably blockaded that island.
Oh, that's
So,
the
like,
point that you actually make in here, because that's exactly what happened. Guess this is where people then start to try to blame the United States, and it's like the U.S. is actually involved with why things in Haiti were bad here at the time. Not as responsible as France, but if you want to look at responsibility, France was like 90%, and the U.S. was definitely, they had a good 10% stake in things up there. And it was because, oh, hey, look, this was the only major successful slave revolt in all of Western history. That's it. Haiti is the only slave revolt that ever succeeded.
Succeeded.
What is half of the United States currently practicing at this time?
Yeah.
So they looked at a newly independent free slave state, a free state of former slaves, and were like, no, we don't want this to happen.
But it was also in our best interest for France to not have Haiti.
Exactly. They didn't want France to have it, but they also didn't want it to exist and get stronger, because if that happens, that could potentially give ideas at home.
Yeah.
So all contact, all diplomatic relations with Haiti were cut off in any way, and trade was forbidden.
Wow.
So the United States was one of the purchasers, not the largest, like France was the largest purchaser of sugar, but the United States was a large purchaser of Haitian sugar. So not only do they not have the plantations to make the sugar anymore with the slaves working them,
But now the United States won't buy it.
But even when they force people back onto the plantations to make the sugar, they don't have as many customers as they did in the first place.
The Haitian slave crisis walked so the Cuban Missile Crisis could run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I did give England some credit. I want to make sure the English don't think I approve of them. Because America's racial problem is entirely the fault of England.
Yes.
Through and through, really up through the end of the Civil War. And after that, it was, the legacy they created.
Wait,
because,
why don't we get England to pay reparations?
honestly, that's
They
not
did.
a bad, to theirs, not ours.
I know they did to theirs, but they're not going to be able to justify doing it again, specifically because I think the last debt payment that they made was in the mid-2000s. And then that actually, for the debt that they incurred in order to be able to buy off the slaves of every slave owner within the empire, they paid off that debt after like 150 years.
Yeah.
That's nuts. What was the total number?
A lot.
I need to go back and check that because I'm not sure off the top of my head. But I swear
There's
it was
a lot of people in India.
Yeah, adjusted for inflation, it's got to be in the billions, right?
yeah. And I think it was like, what, 2014, 15, or 16 that the last payment actually happened.
Yeah, but just to clarify what I mean by that, it was the English who brought slaves to North America, to our section of North America. The English who created the institution of slavery in the 13 colonies. And then in the first draft of the Declaration of Independence, Jefferson actually even said that one of the sins of King George and the English was bringing slavery to America, was placing the burden of slavery and the problems it caused and the evil it caused onto the shoulders of Americans. So then we win the Revolutionary War, and the founders themselves are like, all right, well, obviously this is not a sustainable economy, and as the country becomes more independent and industrializes and comes into the modern era, slavery will die a natural death. But then England decided they really didn't want to bother getting their cotton from India, and all that American cotton was just so good, and it didn't spoil on the sea voyage, and, you could get it so much faster, and it was pretty cheap. So let's just keep on buying all of our cotton from America.
I mean,
to
it's
the point
simple
where
economics at that
I
point.
think 50% of the Southern economy was cotton.
Yeah.
You would think, though, at that point that you would be able to reorganize your economy out of slavery.
They couldn't.
Well, that's the thing. If you have a captive, not audience, a captive market,
Yeah.
like you could essentially raise your prices to whatever you wanted to accommodate for the
No,
fact
because
that
they did have India.
They did have competitors. And
So
the
they
big
did
thing
have to keep it down.
So when the American Civil War broke out, one of the reasons why cotton never actually kicked off again is that over the 4-year period that the Civil War was ravaging the United States, the number one producer of cotton in the world at that time became India and Egypt.
Yeah.
Egyptian cotton, like you think for like bed
Yeah.
sheets and whatnot.
Yeah.
Egyptian cotton is some of the highest quality cotton in the world.
Really?
Yeah. And that came about specifically, it got supercharged because of the American Civil War.
Yeah.
I didn't know they had enough land to grow cotton.
Oh, it's ludicrous. Here's the thing. Cotton
Nile is
grows
long.
very
I
well.
know, but like how much of like square mileage outside of the Nile is actually
Nile is
usable?
long. It's fucking huge in irrigation. Here's what you need to understand. Cotton is a crop of two extremes. It thrives in very dry climates. And it simultaneously needs a lot of water. It's a contradiction.
Yeah.
What that means is that irrigation through a large river source, or like in the case of like the United States, filled with rivers and tributaries that are able to be diverted or used for watering farmland, amazing. Or the Nile, cotton blooms there.
Yeah.
So well.
But yeah, so it was Britain's demand for American cotton that kept the slave economy profitable,
Also with the like inventions such as the cotton gin,
Yeah.
which made it significantly more...
which was invented by an Englishman.
Yeah. And the whole reason that worked is because instead of it having to be all the seeds manually being picked out and done by hand, which is what you had to do before, and it's one of the reasons why slave labor was used, because no person being paid a wage wanted to spend all day crouched over a bucket picking seeds out of cotton. It was awful.
And you needed so many people to do it that it was just economically impossible.
Whereas inventions like the cotton gin increased the productive capabilities of a single worker running it through the machine, not by just like a couple times, not even a couple dozen. We're talking hundreds of times more productivity. Like you could have 100 slaves working on something that now one person could do.
So the cotton gin, for all intents and purposes, is a large reason why slavery ended.
No,
It made it worse.
it made it worse.
Really?
Because you could plant more cotton, have the slaves pick more cotton, and then
Became more
put
productive.
it through the cotton gin, so you had more land to grow cotton on per plantation.
It's one of the reasons why how people thought like it's kind of like it's unfair to say that the cotton gin caused slavery to get stronger, because that's not exactly accurate. It's one of several factors, along with increased demands that came from textile industries that demanded more
Because
of
one
it.
of Britain's biggest industries during the industrial period was textiles. So they were buying American cotton, spinning it into whatever you make out of cotton,
I mean, yarn. You make yarn out of it.
but spinning it into textiles and then selling it all over Europe. So they were buying American cotton as fast as we could produce it. That made the slave economy in the South extremely profitable, and to the point where if you could start a cotton plantation, you were set. Your family was set for generations. All you needed to do was raise enough money to buy enough land and enough slaves to run a cotton operation, and you were good.
It's one of the reasons why Texas was so incredibly valuable, because with the water source that it had going through it, and then it's over the course of the 1830s and then heading into the 1840s when it was then annexed by the United States, like the lead up to 1836 and the amount of American settlers that were invited in by the new Mexican government that came in, which I gotta say here in terms of fucking things up, of all kinds of things that were stupid decisions by governments. I know why the Mexican government invited in a bunch of American settlers.
Yeah.
Because that whole frontier, they were constantly being raided and attacked by different
Comanche.
native tribes in the Comanche, and they wanted to basically create a buffer because this area was heavily depopulated. They couldn't get enough Mexican people in, so they wanted to bring in American settlers, and the requirement was you have to convert to Catholicism, you have to learn Spanish, you have to essentially obey Mexican law. American settlers came in from the south, brought their slaves in, which mind you was illegal in Mexico. Like, Mexico got rid of slavery.
Got to give the Catholics one thing there. They were really hardcore about abolishing slavery, and the French just weren't very good at being Catholic.
So they do this, and the American settlers come in. They go, "Oh yeah. I'll convert." No, instead, within a couple years, they build up such a huge presence that they outnumber the Mexican population there like 5-1, and then stage their revolt, creating the newly independent Republic of Texas, which then beats off the Mexicans.
Did what to the Mexicans?
Well, Santa Anna did listen. I'm gonna say,
Who's beating off Mexicans?
hey, Santa Anna did lose an arm.
He's put in work.
Yeah, true.
I forget, was it shot off by a cannon or was it shot off by a rifle? He actually loses his arm, and then he ends up going and finding it's in a museum.
It had to be a cannon.
Yeah.
Musket balls were big.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that
they
was
weren't that big.
54 caliber.
Yeah, that's like that big.
Hey,
Hey, buddy.
you can come say hi. This is PJ. He edits History Unhinged.
Yeah, it's no longer me anymore. It is now the lovely PJ.
Yeah. Archie's saying hello. He's singing you the song of his people.
Come on in. They can't see you
They
yet.
can't see you. You got here. Just crouch somewhere. Hey,
Hi,
hey,
how you doing, cutie?
PJ, have you met Steven actually?
I've not officially met
No,
him.
we
Oh,
haven't.
okay. Yeah, there we go.
Thank you very much.
Archie, come here.
Oh, no, we're hugging. How you doing, man?
Doing all right.
I've got lots of zoom-ins on your face.
Thank you. We're talking about horrible war crimes. You're going to see a lot of them. And it's the French,
Yes.
so it's
Also,
worse.
he has a meme he has to send you for this.
Yeah, I already sent it to him.
Oh, perfect.
I just got it.
Do you like it? Do you like that one?
I love it.
Doesn't make any sense to you yet, but it will.
Not at all, but
You'll know.
here we are.
You'll learn.
Awesome. So, continue.
Are you just stopping by?
Yeah, he needed to drop this so that way I can get
okay,
all this
gotcha.
stuff off
I
and
need to
to
drop
him.
that off on, nothing. Are you guys filming all week?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, first half at least.
Yeah, today, tomorrow, Wednesday?
A bit on Wednesday. I have to leave by like 3 p.m. on Wednesday.
Okay, yeah, so Wednesday morning.
So all day, every day.
Yeah.
Yep.
I will pop back in randomly for good meme content.
Beautiful.
Yes.
And then
Beautiful.
we need to find time to practice.
That too.
Yeah.
Or maybe I'll just start practicing like right in the middle of the show.
Do you know what? Perfect. We can just faintly hear drums from 3 floors down.
Yep.
It won't be faint.
Good band name.
What?
Instead of 3 doors down.
Doors down?
Yes.
Oh, you going? Okay, bye.
See you, bud.
With me, Archie? Huh?
He would.
Yep.
He's like, I'm considering it.
Keep it going.
Anyway, so slavery.
Yes.
Yeah, but yeah, so that was my point though, is like even once you get up to the Civil War, England is still considering helping the South because they really want that cotton.
Well-
and then Lincoln pulled a pro gamer move and was like, "Oh, okay. Now the war is definitely about slavery. I'm going to make it explicitly about slavery."
This is one of those things when people talk about alternate history of like, oh, what if England had helped
Yeah.
us out? The thing is, it's not fair to say that England wanted to
yeah.
do this. Elements within the English government wanted to.
Yes.
However,
The English people were against
overwhelming majority of both government officials and also the people understood, hey, if we do this, considering what we have been doing for the last several decades and actually running down and stopping slave trading ships, this will be a horrible PR move that will be used by our enemies against us. And the people will revolt against us in our own country, voting us out of power.
Yeah.
We don't want that to happen. So they only gave limited monetary support in the sense of selling weapons and other goods.
And they did build them a boat
Yes.
that ended up in Japan.
Yes.
What?
Oh yeah, the English built a boat, a warship for the Confederacy, but then by the time it was going to be delivered, the war had ended, so they gave it to Japan instead.
Which,
Incredible.
at the exact time the American Civil War was breaking out, this is when the Boshin conflict breaks out in Japan.
That was the
which
modernization,
that is the
right?
third major civil war that Japan went through for things. Which people think, oh, yeah, no, Japan, you have the Civil War. It's the Sengoku Jidai, the Age of War, where everything is split apart. Yeah, they had, technically speaking, 3 of those. The major one was the Sengoku Jidai, but they had another one that was 350, 400 years earlier. And then they had one in the Boshin conflict, which was the very brief one over which it was imperial versus shogunate forces.
Yeah, the one where Tom Cruise saved the day.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
That was him,
And
right?
I'm trying to remember.
I don't know. I'm
It's either him or Christian Bale. I always get it mixed up.
in my head right now. I'm just you bringing up the boat that they gave to Japan has me thinking about the movie Sahara, where they're going after the Civil War ship in the Sahara.
I'm trying to remember.
I
I think France supported the shogunate in that.
what ship?
Sahara, great movie. Matthew McConaughey. Chemical disaster happens. It's like
Yep.
Quantum of Solace. It's
That's what it
weird.
was. Rivalry-wise, the British and the French tried to with each other in Japan because when the conflict broke out and it was imperial versus shogunate, the French sided with the shogunate while the British sided and supported the imperials.
What is the level of Japan's militaristic capabilities right now?
They could
Now?
probably defend themselves
Yeah.
against an invasion from North Korea.
Yeah, they here's the problem, and I remember I actually went. in
They are
detail
very
about this.
dependent on us.
Yeah.
And
well,
Korea.
that was kind of intentional, wasn't it?
Japan actually has a fairly large military industrial base that they can utilize because thanks to the Zaibatsus that developed, they have like the same companies that would go and like, oh yeah, hey, these guys make cars and other stuff. Also, we'll make tanks and other things. Like they can do that. They could just switch over and start doing it. And they produce some pretty good native vehicles and devices, as well as licensed copies of other things with their own Japanese modifications too that they do.
They're
They're currently
basically
working on a fighter jet, I believe.
they're where we were in like the 30s. It sounds in terms
problem-
of.
They aren't allowed to have a military.
Yeah.
No, I know, but like if that changed,
But
Can I give you this
if China was like, we're gonna invade Japan, Japan could be rearmed very quickly.
yeah, that's my point. Is like their industrial capabilities is kind of similar to what we were. At.
Also, we need to switch to Patreon.
Yeah, in like 5 minutes. Yeah,
We could probably do that even when talking about this. You want to hear like a final fun fact that I think is just hilarious from all
Yes.
this? Japan doesn't actually have any tanks.
Huh?
They don't.
Really?
They don't. If
Is
you
this like a semantic issue?
if you have seen a tank in Japan, that is not a tank because legally they are not allowed to have tanks. That is a special fighting vehicle. I am not kidding.
Wait! Aren't there like a whole classifications of things that they have to do like that? I feel like there's like a whole list of things they've done just like that.
This reminds me of a certain 3-day special military operation in eastern Ukraine.
So yeah, they're basically, for all intents and purposes, tanks. But when they're written down, they're not written down as tanks.
To be fair, that is how tanks got their name in the first place.
Oh,
Because the English were like, we need to order a bunch of tanks for
oh, they're getting water tanks for the front line.
water.
No, they're not.
And then Germany was like, what is this?
It's like how there's an alternate history. Who was it? There's an author who he writes a lot of alternate history that is like, and he's a major author who does a lot of stuff for books. I cannot remember the top. Someone in the comment section is going to say it when I'm saying this off the top of my head. But in his book series, that was an alternate history within the United States and the South actually winning the Civil War and the world. Like he goes in depth for like creating whole fictional worlds in which all this has happened and stories are taking place in it. Where America is the one that invented tanks, but they're not called tanks because it's Americans. They're called barrels.
Love that.
I love it. I find it hilarious because
really
it's
funny.
the exact same vein of thought.
I've always wondered. I'd love to see a book series where, because I had a whole idea of like if I ever had time to write it, but I don't. The U.S. doesn't join the European theater; it only joins the Pacific theater.
Yeah, that's called Germany wins World War II.
But that's the thing. That's my point. Is like that allows Germany to conquer, and then Germany invades the east coast of the U.S. and the story takes place in like 46, 47, with America fighting Germany on the eastern seaboard. I feel like that'd be a really cool story.
I honestly think the only, that's what we can, here we go. That's the Patreon segment, alternate World War II.
There it is.
That's important because then we can say words we probably shouldn't say on YouTube.
There it is.
I also, in the end of this here, since we talked about the whole thing with Haiti and how France it all up, I would like to go in the beginning of this next session and talk about every up thing that then proceeds to happen from what happens to Haiti after this because of how badly they are screwed because of the French and themselves. Like, that's, again, one of the things when I'm saying this here, everyone likes to either blame France or the United States or someone else, and they completely ignore just how corrupt and bad Haiti was and still is to this day. Yes, France is largely responsible for a lot of the developmental problems in it, but the culture that you see that develops and what happens, like in the case of forcing newly freed slaves that became farmers back onto the plantation, that wasn't a French thing. That was a purely Haitian thing that was done in the name of getting money.
Brutal.
And then 70 years later, Southern plantation owners are like, I have an idea.
They sharecropped themselves.
Austrian dictator, Czech tanks, Jewish scientists.
Listen, again, I don't get political and I tell people what to believe. However, I will get very political in the sense in which I will tell you what is stupid to do.
Yeah. It's also hilarious that the Germans can't, like, at the end of the war, they're like, finally, we have jet fighters. Now we can defeat the Americans. And the Americans are like, I'm shooting that down with a black guy in a Mustang. Yeah, I don't even consider this guy a person. And he's going to shoot down your super weapon.
You're going to revolt.
Wear your ponchos tomorrow, boys.
Bonk it. He hasn't been bonked the entire time.
The only bonk stick is the danger one.
Yeah. Oh, no, I was going to say use the shield.